To the best part of today, which is not yet the lightning talk. So if we could get Chloe up on the stage, she has a special announcement. Daniela, don't go anywhere. I think if you use the lectern, is that okay?
Can I have everyone with a red lanyard on the stage, please?
Sorry? It's not my stage.
Right, so despite facing some difficulties this year, Daniele has done an absolutely fantastic job. He's been an amazing role model, a friend, and an inspiration. And we would like to give our best thank you to Daniele and the loudest.
Woo!
Enjoy your lightning talk.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah.
Just thank you very much, everybody.
So Sean, we're about to start the lightning talk, so if you would like to set up. So, trying to organize anything in this conference that Daniele doesn't know about is almost impossible. His importance for this conference cannot really be overstated. I highly recommend you look up one of his talks from 2015 called All I Really Want Is Power, which has an ironic title. But when you watch the content of it, you really understand the amount of thought that goes into this conference. If a conference can be said to have a soul, I think Daniela is probably the soul of this conference. You haven't even plugged it in yet. What are you doing? I thought it was a perfect pause to hand over. Yeah, I have run out of tractor jokes. That's not actually true. I have another tractor joke. But I was asked not to do any more tractor jokes. Knock, knock. Race condition. Who's there? There are lots of bad jokes in the world, and I know most of them. So, Sean is going to tell us about how growing vegetables makes you a better programmer. A quick round of applause, please.
Yes, so I'm Sean, and I'm going to be talking about how growing vegetables makes me a better programmer. So, how do you write good code fast? You have to be able to focus, you have to be able to think fast, you need more working memory, that is, you need to be able to hold more in your mind at once. You need better long-term memory, because you don't want to be Googling stuff, you don't want to be reading Stack Overflow answers all day. And you need self-confidence, because you don't want to be second-guessing perfectly good changes, and you need to be able to defend your ideas in discussions. So these are things that I would characterize as mental fitness. So we think of mental health as a lack of mental illness. But I think there's also something called mental fitness, which is like, how good am I at difficult mental tasks? How kind of prepared am I today for my mental activities? So this is a diagram from iamhoneydew.com, which is a webcomic. And it kind of summarizes the factors involved in mental health and mental fitness. So it's not scientific, but it kind of rings true for me. So we have exercise, sun and air, meditation, sleep, healthy diet, social activity, routine, creative outlet, love, humor, and therapy, who looks a bit like Fraser Crane. I get some of this from my job. I get routine, like you do from any job. I get a creative outlet, because I'm building web apps all day. And I get social activity, because I'm talking to my colleagues, and I'm talking to our customers, who are interesting and often quite funny. But I need to find the rest of it from something else. So I spend a lot of my time here. This is an allotment. It's about 100 square meters of mud that I hire from the council for £22 a year, on the condition that anything I grow, I have to be able to eat. So I spend a lot of my time here, and it's really good for my mental fitness, and I think it makes me better at my job. So I get a lot more on this chart from spending time there. I get exercise, because I'm digging in the mud. I'm carrying water around. I get sun and air, which is obvious. Even though it's always cloudy in the UK, the outdoors is a lot brighter than you think. So our eyes see logarithmically, so it doesn't seem as bright outside as it really is. It's actually like an order of magnitude brighter. I get meditation. Meditation isn't just sitting down and doing nothing, although it can be. But also, if you're doing a really absorbing task and it's very visceral and sensory, that's kind of a form of meditation. I get a good night's sleep because I've been working hard and exercising, and I've been sort of processing my thoughts. I get a healthy diet because I have so much vegetables that I have to do something with them, so I eat them. I get some social activity because you talk about the latest pests and what you're growing and all of that. There's two forms of routine. So there's the yearly routine. I'm sowing in the spring and harvesting in the fall, autumn. But there's also, I have to go there every week or every day to water it, and every week to weed and stuff like that, so weekly routines. And there's a creative outlet, because I have to decide what to do. So all I need now is love, humor, and therapy. Luckily, I'm married an amusing psychologist, so that's all sorted. So if you want to improve your job as a programmer, your life as a programmer, I recommend you find ways of finding these things that you don't get from your job. So take up a sport, go outside, meet up with a friend in the park and have a laugh, take up meditation, or cook on the weekend if you're busy, and then reheat during the week. And if you hire developers, if your employees are developers, then it's in your interest to provide these things for them as well. Give them a light and airy office, give them tables outside where they can eat outside and socialize together while they eat, provide free fruit and veg. Of course, at Anvil, I grow the fruit and veg, so everybody gets free fruit and veg at Anvil. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sean. I think that's good advice there. I also married a psychologist. So now we are about to have a series of conference talks. So there are various conferences run around the world, really all the time. There are conferences all the time. I'm missing one right now that I would quite like to be at. So we try to allow some of the people from these conferences to essentially tell us about them so that we might think about going to them. I really recommend going to conferences in different countries. Every country, obviously if you go on holiday to other countries, you can see that they have a different feel. But getting to know people from different communities and things that share our interests is always good. Is this your slide? Okay. So this is EuroSci-Pi? Okay, go.
Thank you. So, hi everybody. Today I'm here representing the EuroSci-Pi organizing team, and I'm pleased to invite all of you to the next year conference, which will be held again in Bilbao, the last week of July next year. So, a few highlights of the previous edition. We had great keynotes from David to Intel, to Sarah from the Event Horizon Telescope project. Amazing food and social events. We even organized a pre-conference sprint in order to build a tool which optimizes the Pincho root bar for attendees in Bilbao. And also something we are really proud of, the Swagless initiative. So we didn't give away any swag to attendees, and also our badges came from recycled cotton and contains chamomile seeds. So thank you. and see you in Bilbao next year.
Hello, everyone. I think it's really hard to promote a conference, especially such a nice conference. But if you like art and beautiful cities, I really want to invite you to PyCon Italy, which is going to be next year. And it's going to be amazing food that I really like and enjoy. But to be fair, I'm quite biased on this community. I really love the amazing people that we have, amazing speakers, and all the organizers. And for me, it's really hard to explain what this conference is for me. I've been going there for the past 12 years, and it's been like my second family, and it's really nice. So if you want to be part of this, you can join us next year in Florence in April. So thank you.
Lithuania?
Hi, I don't know how long a minute is, so I'll try to keep it short. So I'd like to invite you to PyCon Lithuania. So more information, the PyCon.lt. It will happen in May 23rd to 25. It will be like on Friday. There will be a day of workshops, and then 2 days of talks with 2 tracks, general one and PyData. You will find the information about call for papers sometime later next month maybe, but you can subscribe to newsletter or follow on Twitter. All talks will be in English, yeah, and there also will be an education summit. Thanks.
Okay, so the great Daniele is also helping organizing PyCon Africa, PyCon Namibia, sorry, and PyCon Africa as well. And Cherry and I went in February, and we want to tell you why you should come. First, it's in February, so it's summertime. Also, we're not responsible of the weather if it rains when you're going.
It rarely rains. Yeah.
Half of the conference are brilliant students, so there is a super good energy. Conference run in chill Namibian time, really, really super chill, and that makes it great. We have a funny dress code, luckily not every day because I had 5 layers of skirts under that, and it was super hot. Lots of different socials, a day organized by the organizer, but we also met locals in the evening for an open mic or for dinner, stuff like that. Very good gender diversity. We had the joy to appear on the newspaper, and we traveled. So we've done lots of different things. Went to the Tropic of Capricorn, where there is a PyCon Namibia sticker. Went to the desert and showed that we went to the desert. Changed the flats in the desert, which was less fun because it was about to get dark. And yeah, done lots of things, and you should definitely go there and visit.
So if you want to go next year in February and have an early summer holiday, then visit the link there. All the updates will be there. And also, if you want to travel, please, it's better to travel in a group, like Sandrine and I travel together, and plan early because it's cheaper. You feel free to kind of find us on Twitter or contact the organizers. They are super nice people, so yeah.
If you would like to get all that information, you have 10 seconds, and then I'm unplugging the laptop. OK, time's up.
I always feel guilty that those promotions only get 1 minute each, especially given that they're beautiful travelogues in some cases. They're photos of beautiful places. But if we had those 4 talks as 5 minutes each, it would take up 1/3 of our schedule. And we have more tomorrow. So if you have a conference to talk about, you would like to tell us all about this conference that you love, even if you're not an organizer, please put a card in the buckets tomorrow before lunchtime. So now we have Daniel and Larry, who are going to talk about PyWeek.
So this is really kind of an extension of the conference introductions. You're going to have to do two things, which is watch Larry play while listening to me speak. Larry is playing a game that we wrote last year for PyWeek, which is a week-long game jam where you write a game in a week in Python from scratch. So it's a level playing field, but you can use existing assets and sounds and things. I drew all the graphics for this, but you can find graphics online. The next PyWeek is next week. It starts a week today. So if you would like the challenge of creating a game on a theme, I heartily recommend it. It's a lot of fun. You get to judge all of the other games that have been entered. The themes have been announced for next week. So if you are interested, I can give them to you now. You've got mail, garlic, microflora, foothills, or tower. So what will happen is that during this week, everybody's going to think about the games that they could write for those themes and rank them, and one of them will get picked. And at that moment that it's announced, the week starts, and you have a week to write a game. The theme here was flow, so the bombs and the log flow around, and you have to destroy the beaver dams. So this time, for the first time, there is a system of open teams. So if you wanted to join, there are teams that have been added to the website, which is pyweek.org, pi as in PY, week as in 1 week.org. And you can apply to join one of the teams that already exists, or you can create a new team, or you can enter as an individual. So starts 1 week today, September the 22nd to 29th, online at pyweek.org.
Thank you. So James, you're next. So what's the name of that game? Is it River Rider?
Dynamite Valley.
Dynamite Valley. Okay, so if I Google that, I can get the game, play it. It looked good. Daniel is an award-winning games developer. Oh, you're both award-winning developers. I don't have any notes. Oh, I do. There we go. So Daniel is also running the coding dojo this evening, which I may talk about in the next gap, because this looks like it's going rather smoothly. No? So the coding dojo is this evening. It is open to developers of all levels, and James is going to talk about a rapid Arduino application tool. Quick round of applause, please.
Okay, hi, I'm James. I am an embedded C and C++ developer, but I use, thank you. I've also got a sore throat, so this might be fun. I use Python an awful lot, though, for things like parsing log files and running test scripts and just generally automating the hell out of everything. And one of the things I've written is this, the Rapid Arduino Application Tool, or RAAT. So what's it for? So for those who don't know, an Arduino is this. It's a microcontroller development board, really popular, been around about 10 years, and they're used for physical computing, embedded computing. So here we have a really simple application for Arduino. I need a microphone, don't I? We're controlling this fan heater. We want to control the temperature in the room. We've got a heater we're going to turn on and off. We've got a temperature sensor we're going to read from. And Arduinos appear as a USB serial port when they're plugged in. And we want to be able to set a target temperature. We want to be able to set a target temperature. So we're going to be piping data down the serial port saying be 25 degrees, be 27 degrees, whatever. We're just going to be turning that heater on and off. Normally when you, if you're developing Arduino code like this, you might copy and paste a previous project. Start mucking around with the code there, copy and paste from examples, from GitHub or Stack Overflow, and if you think that sounds tedious and error-prone, you're right. So, how do we fix it? Well, in RAAT, what we do is we describe the hardware in XML. So here's an XML file describing that setup. We say we've got an Arduino Uno, that's the board. Here's our temperature sensor device, this is device node. Here's all the information we need to set it up and read from it. We've got a heater, that's just digital output, so that's just an on-off output, that's nice and easy. Here's our set point temperature parameter. So a parameter in RAAT is just a C++ variable that's got a bit of a wrapper around it so we can get and set it over the serial interface with some nice logic, like we can set min and max values. So if we want to clip to those values, if we try and set it outside it. Use EEPROM here is to make it non-volatile, so we'll save that set point over a reset or a power cycle. Down at the bottom here, we want to tell it we've got some application code. And that application code is our business logic, if you like, the stuff that's going to tie together these devices and parameters that we've specified. So what happens when you run the tool against the XML file is the XML file gets loaded. The devices and parameters represent YAPC plugins. YAPC is a simple plugin system for Python that generates a load of Python objects. They get thrown into a Ginger template. That produces a C++ file that instantiates C++ objects representing those devices and parameters. That gets copied along with the C++ implementation of those C++ classes, devices, and parameters, along with any custom code we've specified, into a standalone Arduino program, which we can then optionally use the Arduino command line interface to build and upload it. Who wants to see a hardware demo? God, I hope this works. Right, I have here 16 RGB LEDs connected to my Arduino. Hopefully all I have to do is run this. We're going to build, we're going to upload, please upload. That looks good. And now what I have to do is run the script to hopefully talk to it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. It doesn't work. One more go. Oh, I've been playing this all day and it worked. It's not playing ball. Why isn't it playing ball? Never mind, no time to think about it. That's a great shame. Anyway, normally it would work and you see pretty flashing lights. Damn. So I use this all the time at work for making simple prototypes and bits of test gear, but also in production. There is RAAT code running in the wild on client production hardware. Yeah, cross the fingers. That didn't work, did it? And yes, Python did this. This presentation has been a love letter to Python because I couldn't have done this without primarily YAPC for the templating. YAPC for the plugins, Unity for templating, docopt. Love docopt, so useful for the command line stuff, and all the things like subprocess and things from the standard library. Those are my attribution for the images, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Leona, you're next. Demonstrating software is risky. Demonstrating hardware, I would say, is 10 times as risky. Thank you for trying. The only reason those kids yesterday, after the young person's coding day, actually got up on stage is because they just don't know. They just don't know how dangerous that is. Okay. Do you need to switch over? So the Coding Dojo is open to developers of any level, so don't feel that you maybe don't have enough experience. Oh, you've switched over the screen. I'm never going to get to the next line, but I will eventually, even if I have to take up time. So Leona is going to give a talk called From Zero to Hero, Why Django Girls Need You. Quick round of applause, please.
My name's Leona. I'll be talking about how Django Girls at PyCon UK sort of got me started with Python and where I'm up to. A little bit like a personal story, really, but I think it's quite nice to sort of share that in here. A little bit about me. I used to be a maths teacher for many years. And what happened was, in 2015, I decided to be an attendee for Django Girls in PyCon UK. That was in Coventry, and at the time I didn't know anything about Python whatsoever, never mind Django. That was a little bit scary, and also being an attendee in PyCon UK, going to all the talks and stuff, and had no idea what's everything's going on. So yeah, that was quite a bit of an experience. So what happens then, when I went back to Manchester, I thought, well, there isn't anything similar in Manchester, so I decided to run Django Girls Manchester. And from then on, I have run Django Girls Manchester in 2016. In 2017, I did actually one Django Girls workshop, second Django Girls workshop in the same year, and then I did altogether 4 Django Girls workshop in Manchester and another one in Chester. So that was quite nice. So I'm sure you may have seen quite a few familiar faces from these pictures, because lovely volunteers are all, come from all over the UK and even outside the UK. And then what happened then? I came back for my second PyCon UK. That was 2 years ago, and I was one of the receiver of John Peanut Award. So that was quite again another sort of a high point for me. And then I decided to leave teaching, and I am currently a senior instructor training people to become software developer. So it's quite a massive change completely from being a maths teacher to teaching people programming on a daily basis. And at the same time, I'm still heavily involved in Django Girls in Manchester and now also in Chester, and also the meetup groups in the Northwest, especially Python Northwest. And this is my 3rd time attending PyCon UK and my 1st time speaking. So I thought quickly, I just want to sort of like explain why Django Girls needs you, because without Django Girls I wouldn't be here, and I think it's really important to send that message out there. So first of all, mentoring. We need mentors to support our attendees, especially, you guys are definitely qualified to do it. Secondly, being an organizer is a brilliant experience to organize events. It's one of those experiences that you probably wouldn't get in a normal, day-to-day as a developer. And anyone can organize Django Girls. So if you are living in a city that you've not seen Django Girls happening in your city, then you can always submit, a proposal saying, I'm interested in organizing Django Girls. So if you've never seen one, go and organize one. Thirdly, sponsors. Without sponsors, we wouldn't be able to make things happen. We have had sponsors from big companies, local, small companies, startup companies. So without them, none of those events would ever happened. And what's in it for you then? Be able to learn new skills. Being a mentor, for example, you get to sort of learn how to explain difficult concepts, because imagine with attendees coming in without any programming experience ever, it's quite a skill to teach people not understanding a single line of code. Secondly, contribute to the community. So I've met so many brilliant people, and it's the same people that I meet every single year in all my events, and they are just brilliant. Even, those from the UK and beyond. And again, without them, it wouldn't be possible. Changing someone's life. I would say I'm one of those people, probably, kind of changed my life from going to Django Girls event, and I have seen so many attendees who attended my event now become a software developer, and it just what made me carry on, organizing more Django Girls. What's next? I'm going to organize Manchester again. That's going to happen in March. Date's not quite confirmed, but it will come. And also, I'll be one of the organizers for next year's PyCon UK Django Girls. So let me know if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Leona. How awesome is that story? So, Marco, Django Girls was designed to be sustainable. If you've been a student in Django Girls, you are now qualified to organize Django Girls. And it's great to see an example of that. So the Coding Dojo is a creative coding workshop. You will be set a creative task which you can complete in any way you like. I have had a sneak preview of the task, and it is going to be fantastic. So I highly recommend you go along to that. It will be a great opportunity to meet new people. Super fun. You might learn something new. You can write code that does something silly. There will be pizza from Calabrisella again. But it is very important to note that if you do want to take part, at 7:30, you must be in the hall downstairs, not in the line for the Pizza Hut, the pizza van, because that will be when the teams are formed. So at the very least, you need to be there at 7:30 to set up. Is there anything else that I need to say, Dan? All good?
Great. So now if I just maximize it, will that work? Great. Okay, so thanks for having selected me. I've decided I'm going to give the best talk of my entire life. Thanks. Next year at PyCon UK 2020. Tonight, instead, I'm talking to you about cross-validation. So last night, I had a dream where the Welsh dragon came up to me and gave me 3 data sets. There was a train set and a test set. So the dragon told me that I have to create a machine learning model using the training set, and I need to predict as accurately as possible the test labels, the test target. So, right, let's do this. So I've got 5,000 features to work with. That's way too much. So I figure, let's just choose the 10 that are most correlated with the target. And after that, let us just train on the train set and predict on the test set, and the dragon will be very impressed with me. Are you with me, Cardiff?
Yes!
Well, I hope you're not with me, because we need to do cross-validation first. Yeah, we only have 1 try, so let's do cross-validation. If you don't know what cross-validation is, it's basically a method of estimating how well your machine learning model will do on unseen data. So, right, let's do cross-validation. We got a fantastic score of 0.9. The maximum is 1, so we're doing great. If we plot the ROC curve, it's really close to the top left corner, which is where we want it to be. So fantastic. Now, the great thing about cross-validation is, how do I lower? Yeah, like that, okay. The great thing about cross-validation is that if you get a good cross-validation score, then you can be certain that it's going to be really good on the test set as well. Are you with me? Okay. So let's make a prediction on the test set, and I'm sure the dragon will be very happy with us. And I know this is going to be good because I did cross-validation. And look at this amazing result. I really can't believe how good it is, and I know it's this good because I did cross-validation. Why didn't anyone tell me? Well, there must be a mistake. Oh, come on. So, would anyone like to volunteer an explanation as to why this happened? All right, I guess I should. I'm the speaker. The reason is that something known as data leakage happened. So when we selected features, we did that outside of cross-validation. And this meant that when we were dividing the data into folds, information was leaking from the validation target. And it was giving us an overly optimistic estimate of how good our model was going to be. So if you want to do this properly, you should select your features within cross-validation. And then you'll get, your cross-validation score will be terrible, but that's what you want, because you want it to be a reliable estimate of how well your model will do on unseen data. This example is adapted from chapter 7.10.2 from the fantastic book Elements of Statistical Learning, I've heard. So thank you very much for your time, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Chris? So the next time somebody shouts, "Are you with me, Cardiff?" you shout, "Yes!" because it won't be a trick question next time. That is a new rule. There will be no trick questions of the audience. The audience is being asked to respond enthusiastically, and you shouldn't feel guilty if you got it wrong. I didn't understand a word of that. I am but a humble web developer. I store numbers in strings. That way I know. Ooh. I do have a tractor joke. Can you beat me to it? Yes! Quick round of applause, please. Oh, you... No.
All right. So a few people asked about poetry, so I thought I would basically just come up here and give a quick run-through of what poetry is. Python world, we've got a few ways of managing environments. Conda, who here has used Conda? Right, virtual environments. Who here installs in system Python? Wait, now to be clear, that was a hardware person, so there you don't have a choice. That's the one time you're allowed. Poetry is another way of doing that. Actually, underneath the hood, it uses virtual environments. However, just the CLI and the user interface it presents to you is a much nicer way of doing things. This is how you would add a dependency in poetry. So you will say, actually, this is the package I want. Pendulum's like a date-timey type thing. Also written by the same guy who wrote poetry, which is why he's used it as an example. The big difference with poetry is that it actually has, like Conda, a real solver. So what you can see it doing there is saying, look, these are actually the dependencies that come as part of Pendulum. I'm going to look after those for you and make sure the versions you end up with are compatible with the other stuff you have going on in your project. It also uses the wonder that is PyProject.toml. So if you were here for Thomas's talk earlier about build tools, PyProject.toml is a new flexible way of dealing with this stuff. Poetry is suitable for developing both libraries and applications. This is a little library that I wrote, so this is just an example file here. If I can scroll down. We say what versions of Python we work with. Here it's 2.7 or 3.6 and above. What dependencies do I have? In this case, this library is dependent on twisted and attrs. And then there are some dev dependencies there. So I have coverage, I need test fixtures, and also Autobahn, which is a twisted library that I happen to want to test with. When it's used for application development, as well as your PyProject.toml, you also get this thing called a lock file. Have we got any JavaScript developers in the house? Rust? Okay, so Cargo and NPM both have had this concept for a long time, which is that you specify the dependencies you care about, and then a tool takes care of all the other bits and pieces. So the lock file will have a full list of all the versions your project needs, and it will have figured those out. So you can reproduce your exact environment from the lock file without having to worry about, actually, I only cared about a couple of things, but they all had 10 dependencies each, and someone needed to make sure all those dependencies work together. So what you get off that is, in my applications case, these are the libraries that I actually depend on. So there's quite a few there already. So I've got stuff for reading configuration files, dealing with databases, a web framework, and a few other bits and pieces. However, that enumerates out to a huge set of dependencies. And when I want to reproduce my application, I want those locked down to a specific version that I've run my test with. That's what Poetry takes care of for you. It also has a bunch of tools that will let you do things like, oh, that's not the one I wanted that one first. So I can say Poetry show, and this will give me actually the complete list of all the things I've installed, right? So these are the versions that are in the lock file. This is what I'll get if I say, please, can you rebuild this on another machine? Because it has a real solver, I can also say, actually, can you please explain to me how you got there? So Poetry show with tree is like, okay, these are the things, and these are the things that they were dependent on. So I asked for Alembic. Alembic needs Mako. Mako needs markup safe. Alembic also needs Python date util and SQL alchemy. We scroll down to Fast API, which is my web framework. That needs a whole other bunch of stuff. So these are all things that I personally don't really care about for my application. They are things that have come in as part of, reusing software is a great thing, right? We all want to use libraries and not duplicate and copy and paste code. But as a person developing an application or a library of my own, I don't necessarily want to have to care about all the downstream dependencies. I just need something to manage it for me. That's where tools like Conda and Poetry come into their own. Poetry is something that came up, I think, in one of the other talks and was like one of the non-questions. So I thought, well, actually, rather than doing another non-question, how about I just try and explain it to you a little bit more? If you're interested in poetry at all, please come and find me in the hallway track. I'll be here till Tuesday morning. I'm more than happy to talk about this kind of stuff and show and help anyone who needs it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. So for anybody who isn't used to, oh, sorry, it's Tobias next. So for anybody who isn't used to conference terminology, the hallway track is literally people having conversations in the hallway. So that means find Chris and ask him some questions. Poetry's awesome. I'm glad you gave that tutorial. I've been meaning to try it out for ages. Tobias is our keynote speaker for tomorrow. It's not a secret. And he's an excellent speaker, and I can understand that people may overindulge in the code dojo this evening and maybe find it difficult to get up in the morning, but I highly recommend you make it to his talk, as I would recommend you would have made it to the last 3 keynotes, which have been incredible. And now you look like you're ready, so Tobias is going to give a talk in Latin, apparently. Quick round of applause, please.
So I actually want to share 4 entirely different things with you. The first one is, if you want to give a lightning talk here, and there are very, very many cool things and many people who submit lightning talks, but you don't want to talk for 5 minutes, and you know another person who doesn't want to talk for 5 minutes, just, you know, team up, each submit their lightning talk, and whoever gets chosen gets to give another talk. So 2 of the things that I want to share are actually going to be shared by Marcus. I want to say them too, though.
Thanks, Tobias. So for those of you who don't know Latin, this essentially says a forum for the Django community. And the Django community has for ages have 5 communication channels for development, support, and as a user, and for support is when you are a contributor to Django or the Django environment. And one of them is Django on IRC, there's Django Dev on IRC, and IRC is kind of old and not necessarily like really usable for people who are not familiar with the old ages of the internet. So there's something more modern, which is email. And there's Django users, there's Django developers, and there's Django core mentorship, which unfortunately is far less known than we would like it to be. But there is now something new that we are trying out and that we want to test, which is forum.djangoproject.com, which essentially is a Discuss instance we are currently setting up and we are playing around with, where we want to have maybe eventually in the future a common or a one place to discuss things. But as I said, it's currently in this testing phase of let's see how this goes. If it works out, great, let's use it. If it doesn't, then, well, no. That was lightning talk number 2. Then there's PyCon Australia next year, in August after EuroSci-Pi. And now back to Tobias.
Right. Yeah, you really should go to PyCon Australia, though. Anything Marcus said was something I would have told you as well. And finally, there is the internet. The internet is sometimes hard to navigate. There are APIs on the internet. Discovering APIs is annoying. You start to play around with tools like curl and so on, and curl is pretty annoying to use too. There's HTTP prompt, which uses HTTPy, which is an alternative to curl, really recommended. And it's an interactive shell for HTTP. You use it like this. Can you see that in the back? I can make it larger. You use it like this. You give it a URL, and then you can perform requests. And you can look at the requests responses. You can set headers, like if you actually want HTML output, tell it, and you will get HTML output, which is not terribly usable, but you can scroll through it. As you see, it makes sensible suggestions, and you can navigate it like in a shell and look at responses that you get, like the talks of this conference, and submit anything else, like look at just the lightning talks, And it's very cool because it's stateless, so if I lose my internet connection or anything, it doesn't care. I can just continue later or tomorrow as long as my laptop is up, which is very useful if you just want to find out how an API works, and it makes things less painful. Try it. It's cool. Thank you.
So, yeah. I'm going to say don't do that. Don't combine talks. They're friends of mine, and it's funny once, but if anybody else does it, I will have the microphone cut on you. And that's being nice. So we have more lightning talks tomorrow. As I say every day, please submit lightning talks. We've had a couple of lightning talks today that I think wouldn't have been written if people hadn't pinged me in the Slack to ask me if it was a good idea or kind of how to structure a talk. So I've been helping some people just get the confidence that they had a talk rather than just an idea for a talk. Are you Grumpy Cat? Well, we'll find out. Quick round of applause for Alexandra, please.
Hi, everyone. So just to give you a bit of information about me, I'm a data analyst. I'm trying to do a few more data science projects so I can make that transition. If you've done that, then please let me know how you got on. I live in London, but I'm from Leeds. I'm a proud northerner. I'm a member of Shoreditch Sisters Women's Institute, so I loved the manual technology parts of the event. And also I attended the Django Girls workshop yesterday. So to give you a bit of background, I had some feedback at the start of this year. I always ask for feedback on my performance, and one person said that sometimes they perceive me to be a bit negative. Often my face betrays my true emotions when I do this. And so I was aware that I could be alienating some people and making them also unhappy when I'm open and honest. And as I said earlier, I am from Yorkshire, when a trait of people from Yorkshire is we can be quite open and upfront with what we think. So I thought, well, I really don't want to make other people unhappy and drag people down when I'm noticing things that are wrong or things that are really frustrating me. So I thought I need to take steps to try and rectify this. So I went on a resilience workshop and learned the CIA approach. If you already know about this, then I'm sorry, because I'm going to cover it briefly. So what you do is you first look at what you're able to control. So is this situation something that you can actually do something about? If you can't control it, then move on to influence. You want to look at who you're able to influence to make the change or make the decision to then stop you being frustrated. Or how can you best influence someone to make the change that you want to happen? If you can't control or influence, you have to move on to accept it, which is sometimes you just can't change the way things are. You might be stuck on a train that's delayed. You can't really do anything about that in that situation. I accept that I can't do anything. I maybe call my mum because she complains I don't call her enough. So in that situation, I accept it. So I just want to give you a few examples of how I've applied this at work and day to day. Maybe you've all had this experience before. I've got my headphones on, I'm focused, I'm trying to work, but then people just keep interrupting me. In this situation, I can control it. So what I've done, like even 2 weeks ago, is I moved away. I moved somewhere where people can't see where I am. I blocked out my diary so that it looked like I'm not available because I really needed to have some productive work time. Another example, where my stakeholders keep wanting me to make a change. I don't think that change is going to do anything. It's not valuable use of my time, and I don't think it's worth making the change. So in this situation, I can't control it because the stakeholders have decided they want this change, but what I do is go and explain to them and try to influence, this is what I think, why it's not worth spending the time, and then the crucial bit for stakeholders is what I'm not going to do if you make me make this change to what currently exists. And then final example is I want to develop my technical skills in my current role. Unfortunately, I can't control the work that flows through, so what I did, I accepted I'm not able to control it. I tried to influence, it didn't work, but what I did was signed up to the Django Girls workshop to try and force myself to make that change. And so for you, if you get frustrated and you get annoyed, like I know many people do, it's helped me to really check myself. When I feel like my brows are starting to furrow, I really stop, pause, and think, can I control this? If I can't control it, can I influence? And then I accept and adapt. I wanted to briefly say what's next, just to hold myself to account. So I'm planning on attending the AI workshop. I went to a really good Dash thing, so I'm going to do that. I've already planned to meet my friend to scope out ideas for PyWars, and I'm going to do a blog from the Django workshop. Thank you.
Anya, you're next. Sorry. It's getting late. It's difficult to keep up the energy. We have 2 more talks left. I would love for them to get the full PyCon lightning talk experience. So please keep that going. I'd also, and this is no pressure for the remaining 2 speakers, I'd really like to thank all the speakers for keeping to under 5 minutes. We are exactly on schedule at the moment, and this is fantastic. So can we give them a quick round of applause, please? No, it's okay. I've got time. Why did the programmer quit his job? Because he didn't get a raise. Oh, no? Oh, well. I didn't catch that. What was that? Oh, never mind. Sorry. It is getting towards the end of the evening, and I am starting to run out of material, I will admit. I've actually run out of tractor jokes now. Oh. That was good. It said it didn't want to be a detractor. Then we've got nothing. Yeah, so there are. It is late. Yeah. So, just out of interest, who here has given a lightning talk this year? That's not as many as I would have expected. Who has given a lightning talk at some point at a PyCon UK? That's awesome. Who's regretted giving a lightning talk at a PyCon UK? We have 2. I knew it would be you 2 troublemakers. Last year I said, who's not enjoying the conference? And that one stuck their hand up. And they've just done it again. Well, I suppose honesty is good, and it's a very low percentage. You get 700 people together at a conference, you're going to get somebody, I guess, who doesn't enjoy themselves. If anybody genuinely is not enjoying something, please go and talk to the organizers. We genuinely want it to be a positive experience for everyone. And we've got nothing on the screen yet, and I've got nothing in my head at all, and I've run out of track. Oh, no, wait. So the farmer who lives at the end of my road. Okay, so in that case, that would be Meredith. I have no idea how to pronounce your name. Meredith. Okay. Well, I had all the syllables there, which was good. Just the emphasis in the wrong place, I think.
The emphasis is on the unpredicted syllable.
I feel like you've done that before. So the farmer who lives at the end of my road has just bought a new vehicle for plowing in circles. It's a protractor.
Oh,
that's genuinely the last one for today. Well, we have something on the screen, so this is good. But it is Linux, so it could be a while.
Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, no, it really is of little faith. I deserved that.
You did deserve that. Nearly. No. Yes. Okay, a quick round of applause, please, for Meredith.
Okay, so my name is Meredith, and today I'm talking about running hostile code on your computer. And this is exactly as terrible an idea as you probably think it is. Unfortunately, we don't have much by way of choice. I run Anvil. It's a platform for building full-stack web apps. Build your user interface, write some Python that runs in the web browser, write some Python that runs on the server, build a database, ship an app. It's great. However, any serious application is going to need some server-side code, and we want to host these things. So it's basically inevitable that we are going to be running our customers' code on our servers. Now, this is a sphincter-tightening experience at the very best of times, but unfortunately, we believe in education, we believe in access, so we've made Anvil free, which means that anyone can rock up from the internet and run code on our servers. Let's review why this is a bad idea. Here's what happens when you run an ordinary Python program. You start a Python interpreter, CPython, and then you load your program into it, and then the interpreter will do whatever your code says. If your code says to delete every file on the file system, that is exactly what it will do. This is very trusted input. And even if the interpreter tried to put guardrails on what you could do, CPython is written in C. It's in the name, which means that it will be stuffed inevitably with buffer overflows, and malicious source code will be able to inject arbitrary machine code to take over and do whatever it wanted anyway. So we do something different involving PyPy, the Python interpreter written in Python. And you might think that's a rather strange idea. I mean, if your interpreter is written in Python, then you're going to need another interpreter to run it. And now you're loading your code into an interpreter that's now being interpreted by another interpreter, and everything's going to run like molasses. And you'd be right. You can run PyPy in this configuration, and people do it for testing, but it is slow as anything. However, PyPy isn't just written in Python. It's written in a restricted subset of Python called RPython, which is easy to compile into machine code. And so there's an RPython compiler that will take this source code and produce a binary interpreter that you can then run as an ordinary executable on your system, load your code into it, and it will run plenty fast. In fact, it will usually run faster than CPython. Now, you may think, OK, we're back at square one now, but we've now got two crucial advantages. One is that our interpreter is now written in a memory-safe language. And two, it's compiled by a compiler that we control. So we can enforce constraints in the RPython compiler. Specifically, the RPython compiler has a sandbox mode. And this is a mode in which it will refuse to generate system calls. What's a system call? Well, if you run a program on a computer, it does not, in fact, get direct access to your screen or your keyboard or your Wi-Fi card. It runs instead on a virtual processor with virtual memory. And if it wants to do anything except add up numbers, it has to execute a special instruction called a system call, which is a request to the operating system's kernel, the monarch of the machine, which does have direct access to the hardware. And those requests are things like, open this file, please, read this data, connect to this network address. So what the RPython sandbox does is where the ordinary RPython compiler would generate the machine code to make one of these system calls, the sandbox compiler generates machine code that prints a message to standard output. And then it sits there and waits to be told on standard input what just happened. And so we can connect to those pipes, we can connect a supervisor process that can provide a virtual world in which these system calls can be attempted with no effect on the wider machine. And now we have a configuration that we can trust. Because this interpreter binary literally does not contain machine code to execute system calls apart from writing those messages to standard output and allocating memory. And because it's written in a memory-safe language, Python, we can be fairly confident there isn't a buffer overflow that would allow malicious code to take over the process and do anything else. So we can confidently run thousands of these things next to each other on the same machine, and that is how we can afford to provide free app code hosting for anyone on the internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith. So it's time for our last talk of the evening. Anya's going to have another go. This will be fine, though. Right. I had no idea PyPy could do that. That was really cool. I may come and talk to you about that tomorrow. Right. And you've been sponsoring PyCon UK for 3 years now, is that right? So can we have a round of applause for Anvil, please? So, Anya is going to tell us about the state of the universe. Take it away, Anya. Quick.
Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm Anya, and a few weeks ago I attended an interesting event, Astro Hack Week, in Cambridge, at the University of Cambridge. This event is kind of conference, kind of hackathon, a mix of both. Attendees are mostly astrophysicists, but it happens that there are some random people as me as well. One of the attendees pictured here, Maria Rosa, works in planetarium, and as working in astronomical outreach, she needs to sometimes answer public questions. Astronomical, I also worked, or maybe more volunteered as an astronomical educator a couple of years ago, and it's very rewarding. It's very cool to talk about things that you are passionate about, but questions. What is the moon phase today? Is Jupiter visible tonight? How many exoplanets do we know? Does any of them host life? Is it true that some asteroid will kill us all? And if not, then when will the world end? So as working in an science outreach, you need to be prepared to answer such questions. And traditional way to do it is to Google this information every day. So when we Google how many exoplanets there are, we get a couple of results. First result, from mid-March 2018, come on Google, it was like a year and a half ago, completely different times, there were 3,700 exoplanets. Wikipedia, a month and a half ago, there were 4,031 confirmed exoplanets. Okay, it's slightly more up-to-date result, but still, month and a half in astronomy is a long time. And besides, we don't know what's the source of this data, where the author of the article took this information from. Maybe it's just invented. We want up-to-date, reliable data from reliable sources. So during Astro Hack Week, we formed a team of 5 people, and we created a package for getting such basic information about state of the universe to be able to answer public questions with reliable, true, up-to-date data. So I was going to show a live demo, but since I'm presenting from different laptop, I just created 2 slides with output of command line script that we created. So here's the command line. The command line script is called State of the Universe. It requires one argument, which is place, where we are, because it computes what is visible on the sky. When we run it, we first get very helpful warning that we are using Earth orientation from 17 years ago to compute what is visible on the sky. And Earth orientation has changed slightly since then, so better updated. But then we see what's the moon phase. It's almost full right now. Some information about solar system bodies visibility, about constellations as well. Number of confirmed exoplanets classified by detection methods and class, exoplanet type, and information about asteroids that will possibly kill us. There are 2007 hazardous, but they won't kill us, don't worry. In this number of exoplanets, we see there are 4,044 confirmed exoplanets right now. These data, all data come from the databases that astronomers, professional astronomers normally use. In this number, there's a planet that was very famous just a few years ago. Last Wednesday, September 11th, there were 2 papers published about same planet, K218b. And it doesn't happen very often, but when that happens, first, media goes crazy. We detected water on super Earth, habitable. Basically, we found ions. What happens next is that people who actually professionally work on planets have hard job of fixing all that information, fixing all that disinformation, and informing people what actually it's all about. So a few information about what actually happened. There was water detected on a planet, a fairly small planet because just 8 times its mass, Earth mass, but it's still way different from Earth. It's in something that is called habitable zone, which is a terrible term because what it means it's only that there is possibility of liquid water existing there, provided there are 1,000 of different factors are fulfilled, like, for example, pressure, the basic one. So this planet is probably not really habitable. OK, so here is our package that we built, State of the Universe, is on GitHub. Thank you very much.
OK. Well, that was our last talk of the evening. Can I have an enormous round of applause for all the speakers this evening? And can you give yourselves a round of applause for keeping the energy up for the whole evening? Thank you, everybody. And I think I'm going to hand over to Daniela now. I've been Mark Smith. Thank you very much. I'll be here again tomorrow.
That's it. That's the end of our day, and now our evening begins. So there'll be the dojo downstairs. You've heard all about that. Thank you once again. If you're leaving this evening, as I know some people are, have a safe journey home, and we hope to see you next year. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. I hope everyone has a lovely evening, whatever they decide to do. And thank you all once again from me and all the team.